In this section, we'll discuss the architecture of Windows automation with Red Hat Ansible Tower. In this course, we definitely want to expose how Ansible can help solve the management of Microsoft Windows environments. Ansible provides a web-based user interface called Tower that allows you to do almost everything that Ansible can do from the command line interface through a handy web-based user interface. It has a lot of integrations with the tools you'll use as companions, namely some version control systems that you would store all of your workloads within, with a nice handy integration, and we'll show you how that is exposed and available to you. Additionally, we'll take a look through the features that exist so that you can see where you'll manage things like the inventories discussed in our previous section that show all the managed hosts that you'll interact with, user credentials, the version control I just mentioned, and so on and so forth. Ansible Tower is built atop the RESTful API that's been exposed so that you can click through a handy user interface and have vast power at your fingertips. All of the features that Ansible envisioned, from simplicity to the powerful automation of an ecosystem, are at your fingers in the browser itself. When we take a look at this image, you can see the use cases we discussed in our previous section, from provisioning new infrastructure to the configuration management, all the way through orchestration, compliance, and continuous delivery. Now, where you use this is across all surfaces. So your variety of infrastructure operating systems, Linux and Windows, may be blended in your world. You may have networking nodes from Cisco or Arista or Juniper. All of those have modules to be managed. Maybe you've started exploring containers in your ecosystem and there's modules to manage that. The various cloud providers all have different ways to provision and manage infrastructure with the modules exposed to Ansible. And then a vast array of different services that are commonly used. Ansible is how we'll express our work, and Ansible provides modules to manage all of these pieces. But in this section, we really want to explore how Ansible takes it a step further to make it usable through a browser-based interface. An interface that's both simple and powerful is really the combination for a winning IT solution. Ansible Tower incorporates role-based access controls for user security management. It has visibility through all of your Ansible workloads and environment, and then allows for scheduling and centralization of all the tasks and jobs you may do through Ansible. Being able to leverage all the playbooks and plays that you author, built atop the Ansible command line interface and RESTful API, provides a very world-class customer and user solution. Depending on your environment, you may have a single machine that you'd like to manage in a reliable way with Ansible, or a highly scalable, vastly globally deployed ecosystem across multiple data centers, a blend of operating systems, a blend of cloud and on-prem solutions, and all of this is a good match for Ansible and its approach. Ansible Tower itself uses a back-end database, a PostgreSQL database, to store its system information, as well as a messaging queue with RabbitMQ to be able to provide lightning-fast performance. You can deploy this with a single machine, all-in-one box, all the way to a HA clustered set if you need a more robust solution. And now you can use OpenShift pods with a remote database as well if you're containerizing your environments today. We're going to focus on mostly an all-in-one deployment for the control node today that is running our Ansible Tower instance. But depending on your environment and as you move into production beyond this course, you can decide what's right for you. Some features of Ansible Tower are that it does provide a credentials vault. Ansible Vault is built into Ansible for securing secrets within Ansible, but here we're talking about integration with other solutions for secret storage. Common things like HashiCorp Vault or CyberArk can easily be integrated with Ansible Tower. The visual dashboard is performant, full-featured, and easy to navigate for all of your Ansible needs. Taking a look at this image, you can see a glimpse within the Tower dashboard. You can see at the top a number of buttons that are showing information at a glance. How many hosts are you managing with this instance? How many are failed? How many are in inventory? So on and so forth. You can even see a nice job status graph showing when you've executed jobs, their outcome, whether they were successful or failed, and then the time stamps or date stamps in this case on those. And at the bottom is a set of indicators in this region here that you'll become familiar with how Ansible likes to showcase its work. Namely, these various boxes showing an executed job, color-coded red or green for failure or success, the rocket button, the launch button that may be available for various tasks that you wish to execute, and then a nice handy output of the most recently run jobs. More and more environments use role-based access controls today, enterprise level descriptions of who has access to what, and that can natively be incorporated through Ansible Tower. So if you've already got a built-in role-based access control solution for your business, you can incorporate that here and bring that organizational tool into the Ansible Tower world. Graphical inventory management allows you to click through a menu and add or remove or manage the various hosts you wish to control through Ansible, collecting them into sets of inventories, as many as you see fit. So maybe you have an inventory by region and all of your North America nodes go in there. Maybe you have another inventory that collects all of the web nodes versus database nodes. And those are globally deployed, but you have a different inventory to manage all of your web nodes. Depending on what organizationally makes sense for your environment, you can collect those managed hosts into various inventories. Job scheduling is powerful, allowing you to decide what work happens exactly when. Things like system updates, definitely we care about when those occur, and we want to be able to schedule those and even notify our colleagues and about when that will occur. Backups are another good example of things we like to have scheduled executions for. And for all the work that we do through Ansible, Ansible Tower has great job status reporting, both real time when things are executing, as well as a look back on the jobs we have historically executed. Have a look at this image where we're showing a job execution output. A few things to call out here are a very easy at a glance look at the data around when it started, when this job was started on launch, when it finished, the output of it being successful or failed is color coded. And then in the other pane, you can see here is the actual output from Ansible as that job executed to show you the running state. Color coded, in this case green, as shown here, is something that Ansible was asked to do that required no work. So in an idempotent check, it said, I'm already in that state and didn't need to do it. In this case, it's just to display a message. The second task shown here, color coded yellow, means that it was asked to do work, found that work needed to be done, and successfully achieved that work. If we were to see text in red, that would be work that it was unable to complete and would result not in a successful state for this job, but a failed state. Now, we mentioned that you can schedule jobs, but also you can manually trigger this. So if you author some tasks in a play and want to execute that at the click of a button, that's available for you through Ansible Tower. The concept of remote command execution. I just need to run this simple command or gather this simple bit of information from a system. There's an area in Ansible Tower that lets you target a system, run a quick command, and receive that output back from that system. This is really great when you're doing, fact finding on profiling a system, or even when you're in a moment of troubleshooting for a service or a system that maybe encountered an issue. Maybe you need to run one quick command against it or gather a little bit of information from it. You can use the remote command execution to do that. Lastly, credential management listed here. This is Ansible allows you to centrally locate and collect a set of authentication credentials that you will have available to you as you move throughout the various Ansible workloads. This could be your credentials for different systems that you're logging into, or different tools you may leverage in your workloads. To be able to tell Ansible which credentials to use for which bits of work, you'll have this library that you can flesh out. And it supports an array of different credential types. Google Compute Engine, AWS, Microsoft Azure, VMware are really common ones for the different types of VM or infrastructure credentials you may need. But it's not limited to just those. Here you can see the screen where you would create a set of credentials, providing the relevant information, something like the name of that credential, A description can always be helpful. There are different credential types that we'll explore throughout the course. Here you're seeing a machine set of credentials, like a username and password. Here you see where you're supplying that username and password, and it will store all of this as encrypted. A nice feature that I like to point out to folks is when you'd prefer for it to prompt you to enter a password, you can just set up these credentials and check that handy box right there. And then when you execute work that leverages these credentials, Ansible Tower will have a pop-up box that asks you to supply that password at that moment of execution, and then we'll proceed to leverage it through the run. Great centralized logging and auditing tools exist so that you can look back and assess how jobs went, what went wrong, what went right, and learn from the historical execution of plays. There's integrated notifications so that you can see, as I highlighted above, successes and failures, even color-coded if you're watching in real time as that output flies by. You can also leverage some delivery of notifications if your team or company uses applications like a Slack instance or HipChat or something like that. You can send emails. Maybe you have text-based integrations. You can use multi-playbook workflows. As you build more and more Ansible workloads, you can then execute these and chain them together so that you can develop very complex tasks in order. So very easy to do throughout the UI. And lastly, there's a RESTful API that's built this entire user interface that's exposed to you. And if you'd prefer, you can descend into and have a look both at the documentation as well as leverage this if you wish to extend some features or alter some settings. Here you can see a glimpse into the organization's area of the API documentation. Git repositories are an industry standard, I'd say, today. And being able to connect Ansible Tower and your Ansible work directly into a version control system like Git is native to Ansible Tower. Here you can see a screen where we're configuring the Git-based instance, in this case for our course, to be able to have Ansible look into your Git repository for the work you wish to perform. You can have multiple repositories set up if your workloads come from different areas depending on the plays. And you have a number of different integrations that are available to you for source control. Some interesting features to have a look at are here, and we'll discuss further in the course what each of these mean. The bottom one that you see checked here, update revision on launch, is really nice, meaning whenever I go to use a play, I want you to go ahead and make sure I have the latest version of it from our version control. So it'll always keep a cache of what you have pulled in, but if you want to make sure you have the latest version of something, you'll need to check that box. Additionally, a lot of times you do not want the latest version. There may be developers in motion, and depending on how you manage your version control, maybe you don't want to be pulling that and you want to manage that more explicitly. And Ansible Tower allows you to do so. You can see how this is a robust user interface that allows for a vast array of features exposed from Ansible and a very powerful web UI. And with that, that completes this section. Proceed into the next guided exercise, and we'll have a look at that in the next video.